What is up, everybody? It is Wick here, and I'm making this video about reselling full-time. It's one of the questions I get asked a lot about, is questions about doing this full-time. And I figured rather than just keep answering the same questions over and over, I can make this video and hopefully just be able to direct people over to that. I know a lot of new people come to the channel and they're really curious about it. And I just want to go over some stuff and what I've learned. And first of all, I want to kind of tell you my background a little bit. I've been reselling for almost 2 years, 100% full-time, no job or anything to support me. And I've been making a full-time living, or making enough money to do it full-time for about 5 years total, I guess you would say. And I was working those 3 years, a job where I was working about 10 hours a week. That's the only hours I was wanting to work because I was doing this. And I was making enough money that I could have done it full time, but I was kind of holding on for insurance purposes and just that thing in your gut saying maybe you shouldn't quit your job that you've been doing for well over a decade and just do this because you never know what's going to happen. So yeah, here I am now. I've been doing it 2 years for 100% full time, and I'm going to talk about my experiences, give you some tips, and kind of go over some things. So I made this nice little PowerPoint here just so I can have my thoughts collected. And first question is, how hard is it to be a full-time reseller? The answer to that depends on your personal goals and lifestyle. You can see here, if you're someone like me who is not married, they don't have kids, and they only have to depend on themselves, it's obviously going to be much easier. If you got a family of 5 you need to support, you need the health insurance, you need all this other stuff. You already got a job where you're making $100K a year, and you want to, match that with reselling. It's going to be much, much harder. So you need to figure out what you want, what you're trying to achieve as a reseller, and then you need to look at different ways to resell and kind of plan that way. So reselling is going to take commitment and self-control. You're going to have to be able to wake up in the morning, or I guess if you wanted to sleep till the afternoon and do your work at in the evening, you could. But it takes commitment and self-control in the sense that you got to be willing to put in the work, buy the right things, not spend your money. And me personally, I get up every morning at 6:30. And I start my, I get my eBay packages ready to be shipped out, drop those off, go to do some thrifting. And then from there, I might have to do a shipment. I might have to do more sourcing. And usually I always put in at least 8 hours a day for my reselling business. But since I like to make money, sometimes I'll spend 12, maybe 16 hours in a day. Because the thing about reselling is the more time you put in, the more work you put in, the more money you make. And that's what's really cool about it. So yeah, commitment and self-control. Also, capital. I'm going to be straight with you in this video. You have to, if you're going to resell full time, you have to have a good amount of money. You just can't be spending, $1,000 a month or something like that, unless you're only wanting to make like $200 a month or something like that. You're going to have a good amount of capital. And I always like to use the example of Walmart. If they build a new store, they have to spend a ton of money to put inventory in that store. And that inventory does not sell overnight. It takes months to sell. Sometimes it doesn't sell. Sometimes they lose money on it. But in the end, they make money. They make profit. At least that's the goal. So you got to think of it like that. If you're wanting to make $5K a month reselling, you better be spending, like even if you spent $5K and you sold everything, it's just not realistic to think that way. You're going to have to probably spend, $15,000, $20,000 a month. Just depends what your sources are, what you're selling to. So, yeah, you're going to have money. Don't expect to be able to sell full time starting out with like $500. Now, I started with like $1,000, and I grew that into a lot, and but I was only doing that part-time for like a year and a half. It really only took about a year and a half just flipping things consistently. and saving my money to get enough to start investing that into higher things. So don't be discouraged if you don't have the money. Just take it slow, and it jumps right into the next thing here, knowledge. You're not just going to be able to start reselling tomorrow if you're new to this, because it's going to take a ton of knowledge. Especially if you're doing things like thrifting, garage sales. You have to know what you're buying. You have to know what will sell, how long stuff will take, how much it's going to cost to ship stuff. If you're doing like retail arbitrage, Amazon, it's going to be learning the platform, learning how to ship stuff that way, just kind of learning how everything works. And you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to have to make small mistakes, recover from those mistakes, and you just build knowledge. It's just, if you go to do any sort of trade where you make money, welding, I'll compare reselling to a doctor. A doctor goes, 8 years of college or more, and they just learn how to do it. And reselling, if you have 8 years of knowledge, you're going to do so much better than somebody who's just starting out. So always be hungry to learn more about what you're doing. Be passionate about it. Reselling is going to take sources. Like, you just can't, if you only have one Goodwill in your city and that's all you're planning on sourcing, you're not going to make a living probably sourcing that Goodwill. And if you can, I'm going to probably come to that Goodwill and try to source it myself. I'll just buy a little house or get an apartment and just source it for a few weeks if that much money is coming out of it. But there's all kinds of sources. You got the thrifting, garage sales, yard sales, estate sales, auctions, retail arbitrage stuff. You got online arbitrage. You got wholesale, private label. You can buy liquidation lots. You can contact companies and source their product, buy directly from them. And there's all kinds of other sources where you can talk to people, meet them, and be like, hey, I always get these products from this person. Do you want them for this price? And then I'm like, oh, I sell on Amazon. I can flip those for a lot. And I have a few of those sources, and they're absolutely amazing. And those kind of sources, they don't happen overnight. You have to just keep searching, keep grinding, and then you start finding them. And some of them really pay out. And depending on how much money you want to make, you need to decide, and what lifestyle, you need to decide what sources you want to target. If your area is saturated in people selling stuff, other resellers, maybe there's not any clothing resellers around, so you can get a lot more clothing. Maybe if there are clothing resellers and other people selling from thrift stores, maybe you need to focus on wholesale or liquidation, buying pallets of stuff and selling Walmart returns or something like that. There's all kinds of sources out there. So it's just another thing that you really need to learn. And of course, I put hard work on here because it really does. You're always putting in time, it seems, at least I am. And if you're not willing to put in the work, you're just not going to go anywhere. And my job was pretty hard work, I guess, my previous job, but I put in a ton more work doing reselling, but it's so much more rewarding. And I know a lot of people, they probably see these resellers and they're like, oh, they don't work, they just list some stuff on eBay and they're making all this money. It's just not how it is. Look at some of these people that rely just on eBay for income, or their clothing sellers they sell on Etsy. They put in 40 50 hours a week, just grinding it out. And that's what you have to do if you want to be successful. So here are some downsides to reselling full-time, and I'm just going to go over these first before we look at some of the upsides. And one of the biggest downsides to reselling, in my opinion, is like insurance, health insurance, because you got to pay that out of pocket, or you're just go without it, which is very risky as well. That's one reason I stayed at my job part-time, because I had part-time insurance, which turns out, long story, wasn't even worth it. They changed it on me and basically lied to me, and I was staying there for when I found out that there was it's just like, wow, really? I'm just kind of staying here for that. But yeah, health insurance, especially if you got a family that you need to pay for it, it's expensive, and the deductibles can be $5,000 to $10,000. So yeah, you might be paying $300 to $500 a month in insurance. And it's something you need to look into, see how much it's going to cost for you if you want to do that. It's just something I want everybody to think about, that like reselling is a business and you have to kind of take care of yourself, whereas maybe an employer would take care of you. And taxes, that's another thing. You have to pay taxes. Everything you sell, every dollar you make, it's going to be taxed. You got to run it through. So be prepared to pay taxes. You're either going to need to pay them quarterly, or make sure you're saving enough to pay them at the end of the year. I'm not going to go into a lot of, tax laws or anything like that, because I'm not a tax professional. I'm not going to lead anyone the wrong way. But record keeping, that's another thing. It takes a lot of time. You need to keep records of all the stuff you're buying, your money going in and out, keeping receipts. You need to make sure you're profiting. You're not spending more than, what you're making, all kinds of things like that. And I spend a few hours a week just on record keeping. It's not fun. But it's part of the business. If I'm going to be successful, I have to keep this stuff in check. Also, you got gas, wear on your car. If you're driving around sourcing, you're spending a lot of money in gas, putting miles on your car, which miles you can write off as a business expense. And you're putting wear on your car. I think about going to garage sales, how many times I'm stopping, starting, stopping, starting, stopping. It's just like, I feel like my ignition's probably just ready to explode or something. Like, it's got to be so rough on my car. I get in and out of the car, and I know it's like rubbing the seat, and it's just rubbing that one spot, and it's kind of like lifting up, just that kind of stuff. A lot of people don't think about, and it, like you if you was working a normal job, you wouldn't be getting in and out of your car usually as much, so you wouldn't really notice. Reselling takes storage and space. One of my biggest problems right now, I'm renting a 2-car garage for extra space. That's full. I got half my living room where it's divided, one house full of product. I got my work room upstairs, which is got shelves, it's overflowing with product, and it bottlenecks me because I can't keep buying more stuff to sell. And especially if you're an eBay seller, everything you're selling, like if you're doing it full time, you're probably going to have hundreds, if not thousands of items at any given time listed, because the more you have listed, obviously the more you're going to sell. It's going to build up over time. So yeah, storage and space, like make sure if you just got one bedroom to sell out of, it's going to be really hard for you to sell full time unless you got like really small products that you're selling where you're making like $100 a piece profit on. You can just pack them into like one shelf. Wouldn't that be amazing? That would make reselling so much more easy. Location matters. Some people are going to find that where you live is just not going to cut it for reselling. If you live somewhere really rural where you have to drive 20 miles to get to one Goodwill and all these stores, it's going to be really hard for you to be successful, I think. But also remember that you could still do pallets or wholesale, something like that. It just may not be thrifting, garage sales. Like I was saying earlier, you really have to just learn your area and kind of focus on how you're going to resell. You may want to do garage sales. I would love to do garage sales full time, but I don't think I would make a full time living just doing garage sales, especially since they only happen half the year in Ohio. Most of the winter, there's no sales at all. Also, on a kind of a flip idea, if you're living in a big city, you might be hard to find retail arbitrage because these big stores have so much foot traffic that as soon as something goes clearance, they mark it down and it's gone. If you're living in a smaller city, they may mark it down. It may sit for a few days, give you time to find it, especially if there's no competition. And I feel like larger cities, I've never really done as good sourcing in. It just feels like everything's always picked over or the prices are higher. And another downside, you have to rely on you. You're not going to get a weekly paycheck. It's like if you have a job, you just all I have to do is wake up, go in for 8 hours, and I'm going to be okay. Reselling, you don't have that. And it can be really stressful when you're not making the amount of money you want to make or things are going bad because you don't have a large enough cushion to pay the bills or whatever. And I highly recommend that if you're going to do reselling, you have at least 6 months of bill money already saved up, plus your capital for reselling, because you just, there can be downswings. Now, honestly, I really don't have any anymore. I'm to the point where I have enough sources and enough stuff coming in and going out that it's no issue for me. It doesn't mean it won't happen, but I have plenty of money saved up to protect myself in darker times, if you will. I know some people just can't deal with that stress of not having to rely on themselves. Just get up and make it happen instead of just getting up and going to work for someone else and just getting paid. And I don't fault anyone for that, for sure. It's definitely it's definitely easier. Honestly, it is easier to do that because you feel a lot safer. But another thing, people always ask me, like, what are you going to do if Amazon stops you from selling, or eBay, or something happens? And what I tell them is, any job you work for someone else, they can get rid of you at any time for any reason. And I consider it the same. If Amazon gets rid of me, I'll figure something else out. Hopefully, I have other things that I'm doing, like Merch by Amazon, affiliate marketing. I day trade stocks, futures. Not so much day trade anymore. More like investing at the moment. But there's all kinds of things you can do. So if Amazon gets shut down, I'll sell on eBay. If eBay and Amazon get shut down, maybe Etsy and Mercari. Maybe do wholesale. I don't know. There's all kinds of things that I'm looking at. So I always have backup ideas. So here are some of the upsides to reselling full-time. Flexible schedule and freedom. Yeah, it's great. Like, I love waking up and I love going out and at my own pace, especially when the weather's nice. I'm driving around and I'm sourcing, or I'm dropping off packages, and I don't have to worry about getting to a job or being anywhere. If I want to go on a walk, I want to go stop and get some food, I'm free to do that. And that's one of the great things. That's one reason I always wanted to be free of a job. But I have freedom here kind of with a question mark, because everyone's idea of freedom is a bit different. And I actually feel like I might have less time doing this, because I would go to work. You go to work for 8 hours or whatever. You get off and you would just, I'm free to do whatever I want, and you would just do it. Now, it's weird because I feel guilty doing things that I like for fun. Like, if I want to play a video game or watch TV or something, it's like, I shouldn't be doing this. I should be working. I should be grinding. And it kind of gets in your head. So I don't know if I would consider that freedom. But if I want to go on a vacation tomorrow for a month, I can do that. And that's, to me, also freedom. So to each their own. No boss. That's a big one for me. I hated having bosses. Why? I had bosses that were okay. You get so many of them that are just like, it's their whole life, and it makes them feel powerful. And I got someone usually with less intelligence telling me how to do something. And I don't know. It always rubbed me the wrong way. I never got along with most bosses. And maybe I have a problem with authority. But for me, being my own boss and being responsible for my own destiny is... I love the feeling of that. Make more money, maybe. I know a lot of people, they go into reselling because they want the freedom, they want the lifestyle, and they actually take a pretty big pay cut from their job to do it. In my case, I'm making a lot more money reselling, and I keep finding good sources, and I keep making more every year. So for me, it's just absolutely incredible the way it's changed my life, honestly. So for me, I make more money. Maybe for you, you're not. Again, like I was saying earlier, it's just going to depend on your lifestyle. If you're a single person and you just have yourself to look out for, it's going to be much easier for you. And then right here, feels good, man. To me, reselling feels really good. I love to find stuff. I love to flip it. I love to make money. It truly is one of my joys in life, and to be able to make a living doing it is just really awesome to me. It's fun, bro. It's fun. I enjoy doing it. I love the hunt. I love even down to making these YouTube videos talking about it. It's just really enjoyable to me. And another upside is do it your own way. You can just, reselling can be done so many different ways. It's just incredible. My way is getting up at 6:30, getting stuff done, having free time to go kayaking or fishing or going on little trips or hanging out with friends. I remember before people would go see a movie or something and I had to work, and it's just like, ugh, I hate this. But, with reselling, I can be like, yeah, I can go see that movie, and then I might not have put in a few hours of work to my reselling business, but tomorrow I can make up for it. So doing it your way is definitely a positive for me. So in the end, reselling is hard work, but very rewarding. And I just, I want people to know that you really have to put work into it. You have to put money into it, and you really have to put everything into it. And you can do it part-time. There's people out there that want to do it part-time, and they just want to make a few extra $100 a month. I know people that do it part-time that they bring in more cash than what they do at their job, but because of insurance, they stay at their job because they need it for their family. If they was to pay their own insurance, it would probably not make enough money. You also need to be honest with yourself. Look at every negative thing that can happen and put yourself in that scenario. Figure out a plan to get out of it in case it happens. That's usually how I do things. I'm a realist, and people call me negative a lot, but if I was negative, I wouldn't be able to make this happen, because I would just be like, oh, you can't make money selling this stuff, and I'd be still working for someone else right now. So I hope this video helped you out in some way. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll try to answer them. And yeah, just if you're interested in doing this, just be patient. Take the time to learn and put in the work. And you can make it happen. Risk reward, that's really all it is. But I want to thank you for watching, everybody. Make sure you hit that like button for me. Make sure you're subscribed. I do vlogs all the time of reselling. I drop a lot of knowledge on those vlogs. And if you're not subscribed, how are you ever going to see them? So be subscribed. You can even ring that bell notification. That'll make sure that every time a video is released, you get notified so you don't miss any. I am on Twitter and Instagram, flipping_junk. And this has been Wick. Until next time.